An ancient myster. In the heart of Africa, the village of Mwamba lay nestled between rolling hills and dense forests. Its people were simple, bound by traditions and the tales of their ancestors. Towering above all stood the mighty Baobab tree, its gnarled branches reaching skyward as if clawing at the heavens. The villagers revered the tree, for it was whispered that it held ancient magic, capable of granting wishes, but only to those willing to pay its price. For generations, the Baobab tree had been both a symbol of hope and dread. Grandmothers spoke of its powers in hushed tones, weaving cautionary tales to teach the young the value of patience and sacrifice. 9-year-old Amina was no stranger to these stories. Her grandmother, Mama Zari, often sat by the fire, recounting tales of villagers who had dared to make wishes. Some had seen their dreams fulfilled, but others had suffered unbearable loss. "Remember, Amina," Mama Zari would say, her voice firm yet tender. "The tree gives, but it also takes. Magic always demands a price." Yet, for all her grandmother's warnings, Amina could not resist the pull of the mysterious Baobab. Its twisted silhouette loomed large in her mind, and the stories whispered through the village only added to its allure. A child's longing. One evening, as the setting sun painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson, Amina sat alone beneath the Baobab tree. Her mother had left for the city months ago, seeking work to support their small family. In her absence, the house felt empty, and Amina's heart ached with loneliness. The bark of the Baobab was rough against her palms as she placed her hands on its trunk. With tears streaming down her cheeks, she whispered, "Baobab, if you truly have magic, bring my mama back to me, please." For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. The branches of the Baobab rustled softly, though no wind stirred. A chill ran down Amina's spine, but when she opened her eyes, nothing had changed. Disappointed, she wiped her tears and trudged back to the village, convincing herself it was all just a myth. Yarwa's turn. The following morning, Amina awoke to the sound of voices outside her hut. Rushing to the door, she froze in disbelief. There, standing amidst a crowd of villagers, was her mother. "Mama!" Amina cried, her voice trembling with joy as she ran into her mother's arms. Her mother held her tightly, her touch warm and familiar. But as Amina looked into her eyes, she noticed a strange sadness that had not been there before. The village erupted in celebration. Drums echoed through the air, and the aroma of freshly cooked food filled the streets. Yet, even amid the joy, Amina couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. A shadow of joy. As days turned into weeks, Amina's unease grew. Her mother, once vibrant and full of laughter, now seemed distant. She spoke little, her eyes often clouded with melancholy. One evening, as they sat together by the fire, Amina gathered the courage to ask, "Mama, why do you seem so sad? Aren't you happy to be home?" Her mother's smile was faint, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm happy to be with you, Amina. But some things are hard to explain." Amina's heart ached. She had wished for her mother's return, but now she wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. The truth unveiled. Unable to bear her mother's sadness any longer, Amina returned to the Baobab tree one moonlit night. Its twisted branches seemed to reach out to her, and the air was heavy with an unnatural stillness. "Baobab," she whispered, her voice quivering. "What have you done to my mother? Why is she so sad?" The tree's leaves rustled violently and a deep, resonant voice filled the air. "Child, you asked for her return, and I granted your wish, but every gift comes with a price." Her joy was taken in exchange. Amina's knees buckled and she sank to the ground. The weight of her wish crushed her spirit. "I didn't know. I didn't want this. Please, tell me how to make it right." The voice replied, cold and unyielding. "To undo the magic, a greater sacrifice must be made." The ultimate sacrifice. Determined to restore her mother's happiness, Amina sought counsel from her grandmother. Mama Zari listened intently as Amina recounted her encounter with the Baobab. "My child," Mama Zari said gravely, "the Baobab's magic is ancient and unforgiving. If you wish to undo what has been done, you must be willing to give up something of great value." That night, Amina knelt before the Baobab once more. She brought offerings of flowers, herbs, and a small wooden carving she had made with her own hands. "Baobab," she said, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face, "I will give whatever it takes. Just bring my mother's happiness back." The tree's branches creaked and groaned, and the ground beneath Amina seemed to tremble. The voice returned, more powerful than before. You must sacrifice your joy, your childhood, and your innocence. Only then can her happiness be restored. Amina's heart ached, but she didn't hesitate. I'm willing, she whispered. The aftermath. The next morning, Amina awoke feeling different. The world around her seemed dimmer, and the lightness in her heart was gone. Yet when she saw her mother's radiant smile, she knew she had made the right choice. Her mother laughed and danced with the villagers, her sadness replaced by a joy that warmed the entire village. But Amina, though content with her decision, no longer felt the carefree spirit of her youth, a lifelong lesson. As the years passed, Amina grew into a wise and compassionate young woman. She never forgot the price she had paid or the lesson she had learned, that true magic lies not in wishes, but in the strength to face life's challenges with courage and love. The Baobab tree continued to stand tall, its secrets whispered only to the wind, and in the quiet of the night, Amina often wondered how many others had been tempted by its power, and what they had lost in return. Moral of the story: magic, though alluring, comes with consequences. True strength lies in understanding the value of sacrifice and the responsibility that comes with our choices.